so now let's talk a little bit about layers. Rhino layers work like CAD layering systems. You can create objects on different layers, you can edit and view related portions of a model separately or as a composite, and you can create as many layers as you like. You can display all layers simultaneously or turn any of them off. You can lock layers so they are displayed but cannot be selected, and each layer has a color. You can assign a name to each layer, for example, base, body, top, to organize the model, or you can use preset layer names. In this instance, you have default layer 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The Layers panel manages layers, which is what you see over here on the right side of your Rhino interface. You can use it to set up layers for your model. The Layers panel can be floating, like so, or it can be docked with the other tabbed panels, and you can access the other tab panels by clicking on the ones that are preset within the Rhino interface, or you can modify them by right-clicking on the tab, and you'll see all the various options that you have available as far as tabbed panels are concerned. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin with exercise 7. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create 3 new layers, and we're going to do this by clicking on the new layer icon in your layers panel. And go ahead and do this 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So now you'll see layer 6, layer 7, layer 8. Now go ahead and move your cursor and click over layer 6 with your left mouse button and change that layer name to lines. Repeat the process for layer 7 and change that layer name to curves, and change layer 8 to solids. The next thing we're going to do is assign a color to each one of these new layers that we've created. So click the square color patch on the lines row in the list and change that to red. Hue, sat, and val are the hue, saturation, and value components of the color, and RGB are the red, green, and blue components of the color. Go ahead and click OK. And go ahead and repeat the process and change the curves layer to blue, and then click OK. Now we're going to talk a little bit about making layers current. In the status bar, click the layer pane, and you can find that down here. The status bar layer pane displays the current layer. In this case, you see it says default. Now click on it, and when the layer pop-up appears, go ahead and click lines. Now the current layer is displayed in the layer pane, lines, and you'll notice it's also been changed over here in your layers panel. Now with the lines layer active, go ahead and draw some lines in there. Okay, and notice that the lines take on the property of the layer, in this case the color red. So go ahead and go back to your layer pane and change the current layer to curves, and go ahead and draw some curves. Okay. Now you'll see the curves in the curves layer are colored blue. If objects are highlighted and a layer is selected from the status bar, the highlighted objects will be changed to the selected layer and the current layer does not change. For example, if I were to take these red lines, come over here and change that to the curves layer, then the lines would turn blue to match the change in layer. I'm going to go ahead and undo. So we're back to the red lines in the lines layer and the blue curves in the curves layer. Next, I'm going to talk about locking a layer. In the status bar, click the layer pane, click solids to make the solids layer current. In the layer pop-up, click the icon on the row for the lines layer, right here. Locking a layer turns it into a reference-only layer. You can see and snap to objects on locked layers. However, you cannot select any objects on locked layers. You cannot make a locked layer current without unlocking it. So let's go ahead and see how that works out. So let's go ahead and click on that little padlock, and you'll notice it's now locked and it's changed from yellow to blue. And now let's go and attempt to select the lines that were drawn on the lines layer, and you'll notice that now you cannot select them. However, if we were to, for example, try and continue drawing using this as a reference, it would work, right? We can still use the snap to the various different object snaps that are, active or turned on within the model. And now I'm going to go ahead and unlock it once again. To turn a layer off, in the status bar, click the layer pane. In the layer pop-up, click the on-off icon, and those are over here. It's a little light bulb actually, in the row for the curves layer. So that one's right here. And now you'll notice that the curves layer has vanished. Turning the layer off makes all objects on it invisible. So the objects are invisible, they haven't completely disappeared. However, to bring them back, just click on the light bulb icon once again, and now the layer is turned back on. Now, to select a single object, move your pointer arrow over the object and left click. Oops, sorry. The object turns yellow, which is the default highlight color. To select more than one object, move your pointer arrow over the first object and left click. And then to select the second object, hold down Shift on your keyboard and then click with the left mouse button to select as many objects as you'd like, really. Let's say you accidentally make a selection that you did not intend to. Let's say you want to deselect, for example, these lines from this multi-selection we have going on here. In that instance, I would hold down Control on my keyboard and then click on the lines, and that would remove the lines from my selection. Okay, so I'm going to click anywhere away from both lines to deselect and exit. Now, to hide an object, select an object and then type in hide in your command bar, and the object is now hidden. It becomes invisible. To show hidden objects, then the command that you're looking for is called show. The show command redisplays all hidden objects. To lock an object, select an object, and then the command we're looking for is lock. The object becomes shaded gray. You can see the locked object, you can snap to it, but you cannot select it. To unlock locked objects, the command is unlock. And lastly, to change an object from one layer to another, select an object. From the Edit menu, click Layers, and then click Change Object Layer. In the Layer for Object dialog box, select the new layer for the object and then click OK. So let's say you wanted to change that layer to curves. Okay, now it's been changed. An alternative way to change an object's layer is to select the object and then move your cursor over to the Properties tab. Click on that tab to open the Properties panel. And you'll notice here the layer is listed here as well. And you can move your cursor over to the right and select from the drop-down menu to manipulate the layer in which that particular object or objects exist, like so. And that concludes layers and exercise 7.